program. It's owned by Premier Radio. Premier Radio is owned by Clear Channel. Clear Channel is owned by the Carlyle Group. They're all interspersed in the whole thing. And you're looking at this, and George Bush and Henry Kissinger were at one time on the board of directors of Clear Channel Communications. So what do you expect? No wonder you've got Rush Limbaugh. No wonder you've got Dr. Laura. You've got your homophobic Dr. Laura. You've got Rush Limbaugh spewing out the neoconservative line. And you've got Art Bell coming in with the same sort of thing that he's been doing for years. Fear-mongering in the worst way.
Well, that's just it. And one of the primary messages we give on Wing TV is just the opposite. Don't be afraid. Get out there in public. Get out there and speak. Use this freedom of speech that we still have left. Go out and tell people. Say things. Go out and be active. Don't be passive. Don't sit there huddled in your house being afraid of the world. If we're going to make any kind of change whatsoever in this world, we have to get out there. We have to make our voices as loud as they possibly can be.
And we have to bypass that monopoly on information dissemination to the public. We have to get around these obstacles, and we intend to do so.
You've got to listen to programs like this. You've got to go up to wingtv.net. There are only a couple of very few radio that's left, and you've got the Internet. Now, they're coming up with the Internet coming up in November, and a United Nations thing on the Internet where they're going to be trying to tax it and everything else. The Internet got out of their control, didn't it?
Oh, it certainly did.
Absolutely.
And in Europe also now they just implemented what's called the Internet Terror Watch Team. So in Europe they're also becoming aware of this, and yeah, it's out of their control, and they are running scared because when they get things like Popular Mechanics to run lead cover stories, when they get stations like Art Bell directly trying to do disinformation, it means that they're running scared that disinformation is beyond their control and they don't want it to spread any further than it is.
Right, but we're part of the tyranny.
Running scared, running on empty, and we're going to be back with Victor Thorn and Lisa Guliani right here on Erskine Overnight. Our number, 800-259-9231. This is the event that led to the invasion of two countries. We're talking about 9/11.
And don't go postal. Erskine will be right back.
Now that you don't have to kick Dick around anymore, you're probably like all the rest. You listen to Erskine Overnight, don't you?
What's happened over the last 10, 12, 15 years? The anti-terrorism legislation was written back in the George Bush administration, and there was a female Department of Justice author who said, before this passes, people have to be killed. Fast forward to 1993, the World Trade Center. The FBI had an informant, a fellow named Salam, 43-year-old former Egyptian officer, who was in with the terrorists. He was given the assignment to put the bomb together. He went to his FBI handler and told him, we'll put a dummy bomb together. His FBI handler said, no, we'll use the real bomb.
No, we'll use the real bomb. That is from Ted Gunderson, former head of the Los Angeles office of the FBI. That was in 1993. This came out, not just Ted saying it, this came out in court testimony. Now, they tried to do it once. They got caught. Did they do it again? And if so, for what reason in your mind?
Well, they not only did it again, they did it again and again. First in 1995 at Oklahoma City at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building on April 19th. Then they did it
with
again.
Lee Harvey McVeigh?
Exactly.
Another lone person acting by himself. You had Lee Harvey Oswald, Lee Harvey McVeigh, and Lee Harvey bin Laden. I mean, it's always lone people working alone.
They're stuck on that script, you know.
It's worked for them.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that clip you played in 1993, we're doing research right now because next month we're going out to Oklahoma City for the 10th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. And that 1993 tape keeps popping up there. It's so related to Oklahoma City. And as anyone that knows that researches 9/11, the ties between Oklahoma City and 9/11 are so numerous that it becomes eerie. So
you've got to go to people who've done the really great research, like Charlie Key, who did the final report on Oklahoma City. People like General Ben Parton, who said there's no way. I mean, there are just facts on top of facts on top of facts, but they're so good at covering it up, aren't they?
Oh, they are. And,
well, you know why? Because they're the biggest conspiracy theorists there are.
Right, the ones behind it. And doing this research, I'm looking specifically into the Elohim City angle with Andrea Strassmeyer and all those individuals. And there were so many informants, spooks, double agents involved in this that the entire operation was government funded. Government had full knowledge of it. And when the final act came, then Janet Reno said, in this investigation, we will leave no stone unturned. Well, I don't think they overturned one stone, in all honesty.
No stone unturned to cover it over.
Right.
They just did it the opposite. Now, when you're looking at this situation, and you're looking at the American people, and Clear Channel was coming out, we're going to get bin Laden. What day are we going to bomb him? Bomb Osama. We're going to get him. We're going to take him out. Well, that was years ago. He obviously hasn't been taken out yet. So when you're looking at this situation, the American people hated bin Laden. The American people were out shooting anybody with a turban on their head. They did it in Phoenix. They shot some poor guy just because he wore a turban in Mesa. I mean, they were rabid against anybody from the Middle East. Didn't matter what country they were from. Now, what will happen if the American people discover that their own government was behind this?
Well, that's just it. I'd like to say that on the morning of 9/11, even 80-year-old grandmothers wanted to go out and get their gun and fly over there and start shooting at Osama bin Laden. But we're so apt and so willing and so ready to hate this Orwellian-type enemy that, we're in now, this Orwellian perpetual war. But you're right. What happens when we find out that instead of someone from a cave in Afghanistan, it's the people living in their own caves in our government in Washington, D.C., and up in New York City that were the actual planners, coordinators, and cover-up artists of 9/11.
Yeah, where's the outrage when it has to be aimed at our own government? People shrink back and cower in the corner.
Yeah, that's a question I ask. If they find out that anything leads to our own government, and there's a lot of details, let's have a few of the details that came out in the trial that you reenacted. Now, first off, it's a one-sided trial. I'm not hearing a lot from the government. When I'm up on your website, www.wingtv.net, I'm not hearing a lot from the other side.
Well, we've come out on our TV show directly, and we addressed this right in our opening introduction. We said if the government at any time would like to contradict any point in this book, they have carte blanche here. They have full airtime. Anytime they want, we'll make our schedules available to them to come in there. Also, since we mentioned the Popular Mechanics article, I actually called up Jim Meigs up in New York City, the editor of Popular Mechanics. I said, I'm going to send a copy of this book to you. Get those 70 experts that you use for this article. Go through my book with a fine-tooth comb. And I said, if you can dispute the main thesis of this book, that the government's version of events...
You'll pull the book.
What's that?
You'll pull the book.
I'll pull the book from circulation, and guess what? I haven't heard from them.
And also, the government has had 3.5 years to bring forth any solid proof of any of their allegations regarding 9/11, and they've failed to do so. So what we're doing is a direct examination of the expert testimony, the math, the physics involved, with no conspiracy
Now, how much money have they spent on the investigation?
$600,000.
$600,000.
Not even $1 million?
Nope.
No, and that comes to one...
For the crime of the century, the biggest crime ever, they haven't even spent $1 million. They'll throw away $1 million on one cruise missile.
Well, exactly. Plus, FEMA, who was put in charge of this investigation, first of all, they're not an investigative agency, and second of all, they actually assembled a group of volunteer investigators to do the work for them. So I figured this out. And the money they spent on that investigation now comes to 1/1000th of 1% of what they're spending on Homeland Security. So this was a drop in the bucket for them. It was a joke what they did in this so-called investigation.
Right.
Now, myself as a conservative, I believe in smaller government. We have seen this government balloon into every aspect of our lives. I believe in sovereignty. We've seen that totally disintegrate as the illegals are coming over and jobs are being outsourced. If you're a liberal, you're seeing the same thing happen. You're seeing jobs leaving the country. You're seeing unions being dissipated. You're seeing an entire turnaround as America becomes a fascist state. Let's just put it the way it is. It's becoming fascist.
Well, and just a couple days ago, we had George Bush meeting with Vicente Fox of Mexico and also the Prime Minister of Canada. And what this is doing is they're laying the groundwork for something even more dangerous than GATT and NAFTA. That's the FTAA, the Free Trade Area of the Americas. And Erskine, if this legislation is pushed through, it's the end. This is the final nail in America's coffin.
Right.
Pushed, because it'll open up the borders completely.
It's going to put us down on the same level as Mexico.
Right.
Canada, what you're doing, I have no idea. You're throwing away your sovereignty, and the United States is throwing away its sovereignty. They're just opening up the floodgates.
Erskine, what they want to do is unionize America, similar to the European Union, the Asian Pacific Union, and the Russian Union. And Canada, Mexico, and the United States will all become one hemisphere.
Oh, plus Central America and South America. So from the bottom tip of South America to the uppermost top of Canada.
Not going to happen. Venezuela is not going along. We'll be back on Erskine overnight. And Brazil not going along. It's not going to happen. Their big plans are being scuttled. We'll be back on Erskine overnight.
Now don't go getting your pantyhose in a bunch. Erskine will be right back.
So why don't you just kick back and let's listen to Erskine overnight while I puff on my favorite stogie. Hey now, I wouldn't lie to you.
Lots of things going on, but it's no time to sit on your butt. This is a time when Americans are going to have to get up and stand up because we're losing it really quickly. Let's talk about two events. Number one, April 1st, on the border, Tombstone, Arizona. Get down there. They're going to be having citizens patrolling the border as we're sending Border Patrol agents to Iraq to patrol their border. We've got a porous border with Mexico. Tight as can be with Canada, but porous is the word for Mexico. Drugs, illegals, everything coming in. You've also got diseases coming in. It is a horrible situation that's destroying America. Also, Oklahoma City, April 19th, 2005. These people are questioning what's going on. They need your support to show up and show the government that, yes, Americans really do care. You can't just keep pulling the wool over our eyes. Am I right, Victor?
Oh, you're exactly right. And they have the Minuteman Project down there in April, also April 19th. This is the activist event of the year. We want everybody listening, if they can make it to Oklahoma City. This is the 10th year anniversary. This was the precedent for 9/11. This was the event that set up the big one after it. And if you can get out there, show your support, because some of the great people you mentioned out there in Oklahoma doing fantastic work to get the truth out, and we need everyone to show their support.
Right, because the only way we're going to change anything is through the force of our collective public outrage.
Right, and it was just a few days ago over in one of the Soviet satellite countries, Kyrgyzstan, that the people of that nation overtook the government. They were throwing computers and air conditioners out the windows. They stormed the government buildings, kicked the people out, and we just did a radio interview a little bit earlier tonight at 6:30 down in New Mexico, and the host said, "How are we going to change things?" And I said, "A lot of people don't like to hear this, but it's going to take a revolution. We can't just sit there and think we're going to go to the ballot boxes. We have to become active, and if we don't, things aren't going to change in this country."
The ballot boxes are rigged. We're going to have to do more than have the revelations. We've had that. Now it's time that we go and we demonstrate and we let them know what's going on, that we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. Tombstone, Arizona, April 1st. And then coming up in Oklahoma City on the, let me get this right, the 19th of April, that's going to be a huge demonstration in Oklahoma City saying, we want this examined.
Right, and actually President George Bush is going to be there. It's going to be a big motorcade. We have to show them. We have to show them in a big way that we know the truth. And you're right. We have the information now. That's not our problem. It's not that we don't know what happened. We do. The next step now is letting them know it and say we're going to take control of our lives again. They supposedly work for us, yet somewhere along the line everything got flip-flopped, and now they're the feudal overlords, and they want us to remain in our place. Well, we don't like being where we are being lied to, and
it's fairly obvious that all the legal, civilized, politically correct avenues of discourse are ineffective. We have to push back, and we have to push back hard, or they're going to keep traumatizing this nation, and it looks like time is really running out quickly for us.
We've really got to have some people put on trial as war criminals regarding this, as people who have done this, and you have taken the first step to institute this trial with your witnesses.